Sober living house and halfway house near me. Following treatment, many individuals return to high-risk situations. Your friends or family members who use alcohol or other drugs in front of you may entice you. Workplace stress may cause an increase in worry and tension, and the prospect of being alone can be appealing. Sober life promotes a healthy lifestyle. Isolation is not one of them. It comprises building relationships, supporting others, and learning to cope with hardship healthily. Maintaining a calm lifestyle during the early stages of recovery is difficult. You'll need a secure location to go after treatment, somewhere free from distractions and surrounded by peer support. This article will go over sober living homes and halfway houses and how to find one in your area. What is the difference between sober living homes and halfway houses? Several individuals alternately use the word sober home and halfway house. While the goal of sober living homes and halfway houses are comparable, there are major distinctions. Halfway houses are often designed for those released from jail or prison after participating in a drug treatment program while incarcerated. They also generally need residents to be enrolled in or who have just finished a treatment program. There could also be a temporal restriction on how long a person may remain at a halfway home. Sober living facilities, unlike halfway houses, do not normally need occupants to have been jailed. They may also not compel roommates to participate in treatment regimens while living there. What is a sober living home? Sober living homes, SLHs, are alcohol and drug-free living environments for those who want to remain sober. They are often organized upon 12-step programs or other forms of recovery. Residents are often expected to submit to drug testing and show their commitment to long-term rehabilitation. The majority of SLHs exclusively serve one gender. Sober colleges are sober living homes that only serve young people. Some sober living homes provide intense outpatient treatment, including on-site medical care. These facilities are often staffed in shifts by psychiatric nurses and certified clinical social workers who offer 24-hour monitoring and coordinated rehabilitation treatment. Sober living coalitions or networks may certify or manage SLHs. However, it is hard to establish an accurate number of SLHs since there is no institutional monitoring of SLHs linked with groups or coalitions. Who qualifies for a sober living home? Individuals who have a history of disturbing the peace or lack social support are more likely to relapse. Anyone in treatment which doesn't have a supporting, substance-free atmosphere to go home to, on the other hand, may benefit from sober living houses. Before entering a sober living home, participants must finish either a detox treatment or an inpatient treatment program. When new residents move in, they must also agree to a set of regulations. Sober living arrangements in detail. Individuals are usually required to follow house rules, abstain from all drugs, attend house meetings, and perform duties, although each household is organized differently. Many individuals who live in sober living facilities labor to pay their rent to make a move into employment or volunteering easier. Some homes may assist residents in finding work or have links to local companies. Local treatment programs may also be linked to sober living houses. Substance addiction treatment providers may offer monitoring in certain cases, although this is not always the case. Residents may be required to engage in 12-step programs, while others may strongly encourage them to do so. Research indicated that more than 3/4 of people in this form of transitional housing attend 12-step meetings at least once a week. During their stay in a sober living home, residents may attend regular counseling and therapy sessions and get medical care. Are sober living homes suitable for you? A sober living home is an excellent way to remove any fears you may have about returning to regular life after being in such a closely regulated setting. Unfortunately, sober living homes are their only alternative for a safe, sober living environment for many people in early recovery. It lacks the structure of an inpatient facility. Still, it offers an intermediate sober atmosphere that helps participants acquire good coping skills and behaviors when they return home. Where can you find sober living communities in your area? Many persons in recovery find that moving into an area with a readily accessible support structure is beneficial to their sobriety. Contact us immediately if you need assistance locating a sober living home or other treatment alternatives. How do you select a sober living facility? If you're new to recovery, you may be asking how to find a sober living home. It might be challenging to decide with so many possibilities and no experience living in a transitional living home. 1. Consider the transitional living home's location. The site of a residential treatment facility is critical since it will serve as the focus for all of your daily activities, at least for a time. Ultimately, your safety must be prioritized. It would be best if you thought about the location-related concerns to ensure you're secure and have immediate access to everything you need when dwelling in a residential treatment home. 2. Do your research. Thorough research is essential when seeking a transitional living program. You must research to ensure that any sober living home you consider will provide the rehabilitation services and support you need, a safe and cheerful home environment, and hold you responsible for your recovery objectives. 3. Pay a visit to the sober living facility. You may also wish to bring along a trustworthy sober friend, family member, or your sponsor for a second view. If you have difficulty making objective observations, you may get another trustworthy person to consult with. 4. Check out the regulations for residents. A sober living home staff management is critical to the success and happiness of its inhabitants. Before enrolling in a transitional living facility, you should learn about the personnel, their credentials, and how they engage with residents. 5. Make sure you are aware of the financial requirements. Regardless of how much you enjoy a sober living home, you must ensure that you really can afford to stay there. Most supportive housing services make money by charging to cover room and board, but you must budget for food, hygiene items, and transportation. 6. Select a residence that provides you a varied duration of stay. Because there is no tool to determine how long you will need to remain at a sober living home, it is typically preferable to find one that provides flexibility and enables you to stay for as long as you need. It is generally preferable to live in a sober living home until you and your sponsor are secure in your abilities to live clean without the added structure of a straight living home. 7. Keep an eye out for warning signs. For additional information, consider the following essential aspects of a sober life. Sober living's key characteristics. The fundamental element of sober living is the social support built inside the home. People who participate in social support groups that discourage drug use are more likely to stop using, have fewer mental symptoms, engage in less criminal behavior, and have a better chance of finding work. Consider the following characteristics of sober living residences that aid in recovery. 1. The house's goal is to provide a drug-free environment for persons who avoid using alcohol and drugs. Sobriety is the essential criterion for a sober living residence. 2. Many nursing facilities urge patients to attend group therapy and 12-step sessions. 3. Residents are expected to accomplish work, prepare meals, abstain from drug abuse, and actively engage in house meetings to comply with house regulations. 4. Many residences mandate drug testing regularly to assure abstinence. 5. Residents are encouraged to set and work toward finishing education, finding jobs, or organizing their money. Let us now go further into the halfway house. What is a halfway house? A halfway house is a provisional living facility for people in addiction recovery. After leaving a long-term addiction treatment center or prison, some people go to a halfway house. People are placed in halfway houses due to court orders in some cases. Halfway houses are intended for people struggling with addiction and require additional support after completing a rehabilitation treatment program. This support is critical in allowing you to progress in life and providing a community around you focused on supporting you as you transition from one way of life to another. Residents of halfway houses usually have a time limit on how long they can stay. Residents are frequently required to leave after a certain period, whether they are ready or not. All occupants of halfway houses must also be registered in or have successfully finished a drug addiction treatment program. This can be upsetting for some addicts who want an alternative to formal treatment, have relapsed after extended recovery, or have had negative rehab experiences in the past. Finally, because treatment centers and the government fund some halfway houses, it is possible that their funding will be reduced, leaving residents with nowhere to go or compelled to move into more dangerous, sobriety-challenging environments. Halfway house may also apply to a variety of different sorts of institutions, including sober living homes. Although sometimes housing recently imprisoned persons, sober living houses do not exist only to serve as a transitional area between imprisonment and reintegration. These frequently serve as transitional lodging for people exiting drug and alcohol recovery programs. Restitution centers. Rather than the correctional facility, restitution centers and community-based/residential correctional institutions offer alternatives to conventional imprisonment, where persons may complete their whole sentence. Individuals in restitution centers must work and relinquish their salaries to pay court-ordered penalties, restitution costs, housing and board, and other obligations. Who is allowed to live in a halfway house? The requirements for staying in a treatment facility differ depending on the institution. They accept persons who have completed an institutional addiction treatment program. Individuals who have detoxed and been clean for some time are more likely to succeed in this sort of setting. In general, these criteria impact a person's chances of being recommended for a stay in a halfway home. Housing is available. States cannot transfer inmates to homes unless they are operational. The number of houses and their capacity are the first considerations for a court or disciplinary authority. The prisoner's history. A prisoner with a history of unsuccessful halfway house placements or violence while jailed will have difficulty finding a station. The category of offense committed by the prisoner. Inmates who have been convicted of violent crimes are less likely to be recommended for placement. Those with minimal or morally reprehensible criminal histories, such as white-collar crime, are more likely to be accepted than those with drug addiction issues which seem willing to seek treatment. The situation in which municipal jails or state prisons are overcrowded. The situation in which municipal jails or state prisons are overcrowded. The requirement to provide space for criminals who must be held in secure institutions will pressure individuals who may be suitable candidates for halfway homes to be released. Budget constraints at the state or municipal levels. According to studies, putting offenders in halfway houses is less costly than paying for state prison stays. You may reside at the facility as much as you can enable recovery, but each institution has its own set of house rules. Policies and procedures at the halfway house. Residents at halfway homes have more independence than those in inpatient treatment programs. However, they provide more excellent structure and a more comprehensive support system than independent living on your own. The rules vary by location, but in general, inhabitants at halfway homes are required to stay sober, submit to random drug or alcohol for testing, contribute to the household chores, attend town hall gatherings, respect other tenants and staff members' property and personal space, avoiding clashes with other inhabitants, observe a curfew, participate in a 12-step or comparable program. Some halfway homes also compel occupants to work or look for productive employment while they are there. The purpose of a halfway house for prisoners. Prison halfway homes are designed to assist convicts in reintegrating from society. A low-risk offender with a year remaining on their sentence is usually offered the option of spending the rest in a halfway house to enhance their prospects when they return to the outside world. Individuals choose not to attend a halfway home and serve their term in jail in most situations, although very few do. A prisoner's probation will require them to spend time in a halfway house in certain situations. A halfway house is often an extensive housing facility where inmates migrate out of prison life as a community. Because these convicts are typically less likely to flee, the restrictions and security in prison halfway houses are less severe than in prison. Inmates at halfway houses, on the other hand, are still expected to attend specified programs, fulfill labor tasks, and adhere to curfew laws. A case manager will evaluate various variables while deciding whether or not to transfer an offender to a halfway home for convicts. Among them include, but are not limited to, the inmate's offense and the circumstances surrounding it, the inmate's personality and prison history. During the court proceedings, statements were made. The judge's recommendation for a sort of correctional institution. The Sentencing Commission has released policy statements. Your safety in halfway houses. Halfway homes are completely risk-free choices. Unfortunately, some individuals have stigmatized houses halfway because of the populations they serve, although this is an erroneous belief. Halfway homes have experienced professionals on hand to guarantee that their tenants are safe and on track. They are dedicated to providing a safe environment for all its residents, regardless of their reason for living there. A halfway house is the safest option since it is a drug and alcohol-free environment designed to help its members. A halfway house's entire idea is to assist persons safely transitioning from rigorous inpatient treatment to outpatient programs and re-entering society. Halfway homes may shield inhabitants from temptations or bad decisions. Safety tips in living in a halfway house or a shared space. Although most halfway homes are secure places to reside, there have been allegations of theft or fighting in other institutions. You may choose to defend yourself or your property in the same way you can in any other common location. Here are some suggestions for safeguarding yourself and increasing your chances of long-term sobriety. Investigate the facilities both online and in person. Inquire about the facility's state licensing. Inquire about the drug and alcohol program's licensing. Please do not bring anything of value. Bring nothing that might be used as a weapon. Maintain your focus on your objectives while living in residence. Learn about the house's community, both inhabitants and visitors. Create a support system by locating a mentor or a buddy who is equally devoted to following the program. Learn about the local public transit system. Maintain a routine or organization. When searching for a new place to live, research is essential. Consider reading about other people's experiences online. You may also go to the facility before committing to it. The most crucial thing to consider while searching for a home is to feel secure and comfortable. How much cost of halfway housing? On average, the monthly cost of living in a halfway house varies from $100 to $2,000. Most facilities with minimal amenities range from $400 to $800 per month, depending on location. The cost of living in a halfway house varies greatly depending on the facilities and services provided. Insurance coverage and other forms of financial assistance are occasionally available to assist with expenses. Financial assistance for residing in a halfway house is available from the following organizations: insurance, scholarships, grants, loans from banks. Some transitional housing facilities accept credit cards or provide in-house financing. This enables you to make payments over weeks or months. Sober living house and halfway house near me. Now that you've learned about sober living homes and halfway houses, you may utilize this link to choose your next safe and pleasant home within your budget. Furthermore, if you have problems searching, don't hesitate to contact us right away to help you.